Okay. So yeah, there's just a delay between when I'm talking and when you see it. It's maybe a 10-second delay, just so you know. Uh, Also, I had an interesting conversation with Matt, one of my devoted stream watchers and practicers, and we were talking about how the image for you is flipped. So instead of you seeing a mirror image of my yoga room, you actually the program flips it. So in actuality, behind me, the door is on my left, whereas when I take my arm out like this, you'll see that as my right arm. Just an interesting thing. It also means that when I cue, it appears that I'm mirroring you, whereas I'm not. I'm doing the same thing, using the same instructions for myself that I'm giving to you. Anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting about this whole weird universe we're living in right now. Speaking of, I renamed my class this morning. Now it's called Under the Sun, whereas yesterday it was called, what was it called yesterday? When novelty wanes. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on this week with the class. I know we're doing heart openers. Why and what's the effect? I love back bends. I will admit that right off the bat. I love the challenge of backbending practice. I love the way backbends look in my own body and in other bodies. I think it's like it's a very beautiful expression. This, just the expression of opening one's heart and moving into the space behind you, which can be kind of a frightening experience. I was thinking about backbends as kind of being this kind of similar to the experience of just splashing freezing cold water onto your face. It's just it gets you into the moment, because it can be a little bit shocking to the system, just because of the kind of fear of moving in that direction, moving into a space that you can't see, if in the instance of standing backbending poses. Also just creating all this sensation in the back body, in a part of the body where in our everyday lives we tend to have less awareness. So anyway, I'm sore from yesterday. So if you did class with me yesterday, you might be in the same boat. If you're doing class today, maybe expect to be sore tomorrow, and just with that in mind, make sure to drink lots of water after this class, because that should help. And I don't know if eating bananas helps, but huge fan of back bends and bananas here. Okay, so eat a banana, drink some water, but first let's practice some yoga. Okay, I'm recording my podcast today, so I'm going to turn that on. This is weird. I put my phone upside down because I'm epoxying my what is it called? My stand for my phone. Okay, TMI, let's get started. So roll out your mat if you have not already. Find a place to sit. So I'm experimenting myself with a new seated position where I'm sitting up on 2 blankets, so a little higher height in the hips than usual. So I'm taking what I think is called Siddhasana, something like that. Instead of crossing my legs at the ankles with my hips at a higher height, I'm able to bring one heel directly in front of my pelvis, and then bring the second heel right in front. So my knees are pointing out to the side, and my pelvis is closer up towards my heels. So if you want to try that variation this morning, feel free to experiment with that. If not, take a different cross-legged seated pose or rock pose with the knees together and feet tucked back. Find a place where you feel supported. And then once you find that pose, close your eyes and rest your hands on your legs. Notice the breath. And in noticing your breath, consider whether your breath has already begun to slow and deepen, just with the act of coming to the mat, arriving in this space. As you arrive, begin to become aware of all those spaces where your body is meeting the surfaces beneath you. Consider the exchange between your body and the floor or props beneath you. So the weight of your body is pushing down through those spaces in varying degrees. And take a moment to notice if there are points where your body feels heavier. So is your weight shifted to one side? Is the weight shifted onto the legs or all rested in the pelvis? You might make some gentle adjustments there, maybe a little swaying side to side before you feel more evenness between your left and right sits bones. You might rock back and forth a little bit so that you feel that the weight is distributed in a preferable way between your legs and hips. So again, this idea of energetic exchange between the weight of your body moving downward and the resistance of the floor keeping you up. So you pushing into the floor pushing up into you. Feel the energy from the earth rise up along your spine. So draw up from the earth, grow tall. Shrug your shoulders up towards your ears, lengthening the sides of the body. Then keep the armpits lifted, sides of the body long, and loop your shoulder blades together behind your heart. So this is an area of focus today. This strengthening of the upper back muscles, contraction of the upper back in order to open and lift the heart space. Release the weight of the arms down, forearms and elbows melt towards the floor as the shoulder blades slide down the back side of the chest. Consider the breath once again. With these actions to open and lift the heart space, do you feel that it is easier to breathe into the heart space? Have you created greater expansion in the chest, allowing more space for more breath? And then often in this emphasis on opening and lifting the chest, the head begins to tilt back and thus shortening the neck. So consciously bring the chin down parallel to the floor as you lengthen along the back of the neck and lift through the crown of your head. Also, with the emphasis on lifting and opening the chest, we can jut the low ribs forward, which can contract the middle back, so to shorten the middle back. So to extend there, bring the low ribs in towards the central point And then pull that point subtly towards your spine to again lengthen through the middle back and get that sense of the tailbone rooting down into the earth. Once again, find the breath. Breathe in and out through the nostrils. And you might use the Ujjai Pranayama technique at this time. So to do this, draw a gentle contraction in at the back of the throat. And let the sound of your breath act as a soundtrack to this breath meditation. Follow your breath through 3 more cycles. So notice if the mind has wandered. It likely has. Our intention here is to continually bring the mind back. So again, 3 breaths with the mind's attention on the breath. Upon completion of your last 3 rounds of breath, bring your palms together in front of your heart. Press your palms in, widen your elbows out, broaden the collarbones. We will chant Om 3 times before beginning the moving practice. Again, I will remind you that we are focusing on this 3-syllabic Om sound, more in tune with the spelling of A-U-M than the O-M as we often see. And consider that as you make this sound, you might feel a vibration rising up from the pelvic floor, moving up through the abdomen, up through the ribs and chest, and the sound culminating and vibrating at the back of the throat. Exhale the breath, empty the lungs, and inhale deeply for Om. Bow your head to your heart, release palms to thighs, and then slowly lift your head as you open your eyes. Okay. Switch the cross of your legs, either putting the opposite ankle in front or opposite ankle on top. Take the left hand behind the hip. Right hand crosses to the left thigh. Inhale, grow tall, stay rooted through the legs and hips. Exhale, and begin to revolve. So as you revolve around the central channel of the spine, be sure not to push or have the weight supported on the left hand. The left hand is really pushing down into the prop or into the floor to keep the chest propped up, the heart open, the collarbones broad. Head generally over the center of the heart generally over the center of the pelvis. So we're not leaning back, we're keeping the central channel upright and revolving around it like a spiral staircase. Infuse the pose with breath. Consider that the pose is changing over time and with the breath. So a longer hold might signify a deeper exploration of the body in this shape. Keep the right hand as it is. Left arm reaches up towards the ceiling. And then exhale to lean the upper body at an angle over the right thigh. With the right hand on the left thigh, draw the right shoulder forward and start to look up beyond the left tricep muscles. Notice any tension in the face. Consider the face being a window into your experience. So your face might be telling you more about your experience than you realize. So if you're grimacing or furrowing the brow, that might signify a resistance in the shape. By softening the face, is it possible to try to start to embrace the experience of this moment more fully? Inhale to return to center, and we'll go to the opposite side. Right hand behind the hip, left hand crosses to the right thigh. Inhale, grow tall, and exhale, begin to revolve. Left to right, bottom to top, inside to outside. Again, keeping the spine tall, head over heart, heart over the center of the pelvis, revolving like a spiral staircase around that central channel. Eventually, the gaze might turn towards the back wall or even over the right shoulder. Breathe the pose. Let the awareness traverse the body, listening to what and where you are creating sensation by putting the body into this shape. Keep the left hand where it is, right arm reaches along the right ear. Keep the right hip tacked down, grow tall, and exhale, lean the upper body at an angle towards the left. Use the left hand to draw the left shoulder forward as you take the gaze up beyond the right tricep muscles. Breathe along the right side body, again, taking note of tension in the face. What is it telling you? How might neutralizing the facial expression help you to arrive more fully in the moment with acceptance? You can only move from where we are. Inhale, come back to center, release the right arm down, and we're going to come into a wide-legged child's pose from here. So take your knees as wide as the mat, bring your big toes to touch behind you, sink your hips towards your heels. Keep your hips weighted down towards the heels as you look forward and start to walk your hands towards the top of your mat. Spread your fingers and your palms. And then when you can't reach any further forward, let the forehead melt towards or to the floor. So let's keep the arms active in this child's pose shape. Spread the fingers, push the fingerprints and the knuckles into the mat in an attempt to lift the wrists. Draw the outer armpits away from the floor, bringing the shoulder blades towards one another on the back, so creating that tone of the upper back, while attempting to wrap the tricep muscles towards the face, conversely broadening the upper back. So broadening and contracting all at the same time. Such is yoga. And as those things are happening, keep extending the fingertips. Keep breathing, directing awareness and breath to the back body. You might specifically be exploring the upper back, as that is a primary focus of today's practice. Okay, we're going to walk the upper body over towards the left. So for this one, again, targeting the side of the lateral extension, I like to keep my right arm extending at about a 45-degree angle towards the left, and my left hand comes down onto the floor with a bent elbow. I'm using my left hand and I'm pushing it down and forward. And with this action, I'm able to revolve my right outer ribs more deeply towards the floor as the right hip pulls towards the back of my mat and my right fingertips reach towards the left. So notice if those actions work for you to create more awareness along the right side body. So thinking about extending not only the spine, not only the vertebra along the spine, but also creating more space along the sides of the body, from the hips to the armpits, in order to create more space to eventually move into our back bending practice. So I specifically wore this striped tank top today because I was thinking about as I'm moving into these poses, I'm trying to expand the width of the stripes. Okay, move through center and angle the upper body towards the right. Left hip tacks back and down. Left fingertips reach out to the right. I'm going to bring my right hand down again. You could even tint the fingers on the right hand as you bend the right elbow. Push the hand or fingertips down and forward. And then with that action, might you be able to revolve the left outer ribs more deeply towards the floor, creating more extension and sensation along the left side body. So we're really doing these poses with the intention of tuning into the experience of the poses. So we're not just going through the poses like a checklist. We're not just going through the poses and being like, okay, my body did that, my body did this, my body did this. But the practice, the growth is really aided by really delving deep into the experience of your body moving in these ways. And part of that is intention, and a lot of it is how you engage with the breath as you hold these poses. Okay, move back through center, and we'll pop up into a tabletop position. Wrists below the shoulders, spread the fingers, knees are hip width distance. Inhale, belly and chest down, tailbone and gaze lift into cow, contracting the back body. And exhale, round the spine, chin to chest, tailbone towards the floor, belly button towards the ceiling, push the earth away. Cat pose, and continue to move through these two shapes with the pace of your breath. As you explore breath with movement, the range of motion of your spine, might you begin to decide on ways to modify this sequence. Maybe you target a specific region of the body with modified movement. So if you are feeling more sensation in the low back, you might shift the hips back or side to side, or even make elliptical movements with the hips in both directions. Just an example of what might be done here. Okay, let's move into a neutral spine, and let me check my notes. We're gonna come into puppy dog pose. So take your knees, walk them back maybe 6 to 8 inches, and maybe a little bit further apart than you had them for tabletop. Maybe 2 inches or 3 inches wider than the hips. Take the hands and either reach the hands forward, spreading the fingers and palms, or as I often like to do, grab the outer edges of my mat. So with the knees grounded, the toes tucked under, tilt your tailbone up towards the ceiling as though you're doing cow pose. So the inner thighs are spiraling back. Inner thighs push back and then pull apart, creating a sensation of broadening in the pelvis. And then look forward, reach the arms forward, or slide the hands forward, grabbing the outside edges of the mat and pushing the mat away as you lower the chin towards or to the floor, sternum towards or to the floor. So this is pretty, with the hands clasping the mat, I feel like this is a really good way to get into the upper back in this puppy dog pose. So if you have not felt the shoulder blades hugging together yet in practice, here you can probably connect with that sense of the shoulder blades pulling in towards one another, hugging the back side of the heart. So as the shoulder blades pull together, we also want to draw the shoulder blades away from the ears, keeping the neck long. So as you either push forward and down with the hands or push the edges of the mat away, try to draw the shoulders away from the ears. And what's happening with your breath? Where is the breath going naturally? Where might you start to direct breath more consciously? Okay, and then from here, let's move back into downward facing dog. As we often do, you might walk out your dog as you arrive, bending one knee, reach the opposite hip, up and out, lengthening down the back side of that straightened leg, shifting weight from side to side, awareness from the back of one leg to the other. Okay, and then we're going to spend a little bit of time in the upper back with our down dog. So knees bent, Look forward. Okay, so look to the wall in front of you. Spread the fingers. Again, press the fingerprints and the knuckles into the floor with emphasis on grounding through the inside of the hand, so the base of the index finger and thumb. Try to lift weight out of the wrist, so not all the weight is pushing down into the wrist, taking too much of this burden here. Push the hands down and forward as you look forward, and again, just like puppy dog pose, try to create that mental connection with the contraction of the upper back muscles, shoulder blades together. And then release the head down. Draw the lower front ribs in and back as they will likely have dipped down. Make sure the knees and ankles remain hip-width distance apart, and then you might experiment with lengthening the heels downward. Okay, that's a spicy meatball, right? That's a I love idioms, as you might have observed. Look forward. Wow, one of my hands is further forward than the other. Good to notice. Look forward, and we're gonna practice hopping to the top of the mat a few times. Shift the shoulders forward so that more weight moves into the hands, continuing to root through the knuckles. Lift onto the toes, bend the knees, round the low spine, drawing up through the sides of the waistline. Look between your hands, and as you exhale, empty all the air from your lungs and lift your hips high into the air to land your feet at the top of your mat. Whoa. Okay, let's do it again. Hopper step back. We'll do 4 more of those. Bend the knees, draw up through the sides of the waistline, shift weight forward, ground through the knuckles, look forward, exhale, empty the lungs, and arrive. 3 more. Hopper step back. Bend the knees, draw up through the sides of the waistline, look forward, exhale. Hopper step back. 2 more. Bend the knees, lift the sides of the waistline, shift the weight forward, look forward, ground through the knuckles, lift those hips high at the end of the exhale. And last one, quietest one. Can you bring your feet to the top of your mat silently? Bend the knees, lift the toes, drop to the sides of the waistline, look forward, shift forward, exhale. And find your way to the top of your mat. Place your feet hip-width distance apart, lift and spread your toes, and then bend your knees deeply. Lift your toes up, slide your hands underneath your feet. So bend your knees considerably to make that happen. So a little wrist relief with a toe massage on the wrists. Hopefully you don't find your feet too unappealing to touch. If so, just don't do it then. You know, it's your body, your practice, your choice. Let the upper body hang forward. Maybe let the head rock side to side and front to back, identifying and alleviating tension in the neck. So you gotta see it before you can figure out how to let go of it. Okay, untuck the hands. Bring the fingertips to the floor in front of you or to blocks in front of you to bring the floor closer. And then push the feet down, lift the hips up, lengthen the crown of the head forward, coming into a forward fold. As you inhale next, bring your fingertips onto your shins lightly. And then straighten your arms as you extend your chest forward, making a tabletop with the back body. So push the feet down, lift the hips up, try to engage the kneecaps, draw in and up on them. Shoulder blades on the back, shoulder blades down the back, and again, create that subtle tone of the upper abdomen, lower ribs in and back. Crown of the head can push forward as thigh bones push back. Then exhale, fold in, fingertips to the floor, release the head. Inhale, sweep the arms out, up and overhead. Rise all the way to standing, palms touch as you look up. And then exhale, hands come through heart center and arms to your sides. Become your mountain. Become a mountain. Name your mountain. Mount Meg is my mountain name. Push your feet down, broaden your chest, open your heart and palms forward. You might gaze to an imagined horizon line far off in the distance. Occupy the space between earth and sky. Reconnect with your breath. Again, feel the connection between your body and the earth. Your body pushing down, the earth pushing up. And we are going to do some sun salutations here. So flowing with breath through Surya Namaskar A. Inhale, look up as you reach your palms overhead. Exhale, fold forward, gently bending the knees, release the head. Inhale, fingertips to the shins. And exhale, as you fold, plant the hands, send the left leg back into a lunge. Inhale in the lunge, heart and gaze forward. Exhale, plant the hands and move into a plank position. Inhale in plank, and exhale, lower down, chaturanga or knees, chest, chin to the floor. Inhale, curl forward, press up, upward dog or cobra pose. Exhale, push back, downward facing dog for 3 breaths. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, release the head down. Inhale, bend the knees, lift onto the toes, shift the weight forward, look forward, exhale, and arrive at the top of your mat in a forward fold. Inhale, fingertips to the shins, half lift. Exhale, fold deeply in. Inhale to rise, reach up, look up, palms touch. Exhale, hands through heart center, mountain pose. Inhale, float the arms up. Exhale, flow forward, fingertips